Today we're hosting, or we're coaching. I got to tap into the game. I'm hitting Control N and it's popping up new windows in my browser. Today we're coaching Plasmid, who is of the Neuro clan. And his opponent's going to be Stealth Bree, a Stealth Bree ... a Terran from E100. Cool. Alright, so what we're doing here is we're looking for mistakes. Anything that Plasmid can improve on, and we'll talk about it. We'll look for it. So this is a 17, 18, 17. Not bad. I like it. This is how I open against turn as well. It's good economy. Gets you gas for speed things relatively early. And your economy is still good because you still maintain 16 on the mineral line the whole time, which is really nice. That's the most important part. Good stuff. Good stuff. If you take off like one drone to mine the gas like right away, that's okay. I honestly, personally, I usually do it. Or actually he pulled off one. That's fine. Again, it's not a big deal. I'll usually just let the third final drone build and go into the gas rather than taking a drone with the minerals. Either way it works though. They're both really similar. It's really preference at that point. So for his setup so far, his build, not bad, very standard. It's you know, I can't really critique it anyway because it's really early and it's really not that hard to execute it thus far. He's got 4 lings. It's good so far. Yeah, good. And he also took off 2 drones of gas right around 100. Good shit. He's taking this third is just slightly too early. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but it's slightly early. This drone is going to be chilling here for about a good 15 seconds.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy. Our forces are under attack.
So, we'll talk about this for a second. This is micro techniques now. Silverlord got in, and it scouted the natural, it scouted the barracks, and it scouted the factory, and it scouted the reactor. That's good. Now, you know, if you can somehow get it out, because this guy, since he made, for one, a Reaper, you know there's no other Marine on the map, and number 2 is he made a Marine before making the reactor. That tells you information right there. This is what I would read from this, okay? I would go, okay, this guy's not rushing his gas super fast because he made a fucking Marine instead of making the Reaper and then a Bear and then instead of making a Reaper into a factory reactor, he made a Marine. So he probably took the gas right as he took the barracks, which signifies this is probably going to be 1-1-1. There's probably not a second factory back here. There's probably nothing crazy going on. It's probably just going to be a 1-1-1 into a third command center, and then he'll pick if he wants to go bio or mech. This is a very standard gas Terran. It's not. You almost can guarantee there's not some like gas bank that this guy's had this whole time because he's trying some shit right now, like a second factory already. It could happen. Not saying it can't. It totally could happen because that could also be the way this guy thinks. He could go, I gotta get a Marine to hide my second factory. But probably not. Probably not. Most often, people are going to rush their tech if they rush their gas. That's just how this game works, because if you rush your gas and you don't rush your tech, you're just wasting your money. And people at higher level usually don't waste their money, so you can expect it's probably just going to be a 1-1-1 with high mineral, and maybe he'll take a third. Or do like this big 2-base timing later on. That's what I would read from this. I would say it's going to be 1-1-1 coming up. And I like what you're doing with those lings. Sending them back, not fighting them off creep is really important. Unless you can guarantee to get the kill, like a surround or some shit. But fighting Reaper off creep is always kind of risky because you're just liable to throw your lings away.
You're under attack. Siege up.
Now that the Overlord is, or the Queen's out, I would never use the lings again. I would just let the Queen zone. Yeah, man. So far, making drones. You're okay. You're good. You're good. You were getting a little high there on the money for a second. I think you got supply blocked for just a second here. Avoiding that's always, you know, obviously better. I like what you're doing here. I like this second Overlord. It's really important. And there you go. Then we see at the starport. So this guy did open 111. I hope for your sake that you scout in just a little bit further now to see if he's got like a barracks here with a tech lab. Because if you see something like that, it tells you it's going to be one of three things. A tech lab is going to tell you that it's already automatically not going to be a Hellion drop in your main or something like that with a medevac, or a Hellbat timing with a medevac, but instead it would be either a Banshee, which is the most common one, or a Raven opener, which is lesser common but still more common than the last. And the last one it could be is this guy could actually have a tech lab on a what's it called, on a starport. And if you see a Liberator get built out of it, you can't actually upgrade the Liberator right away. You have to have a fusion core. But if you were to then see, if you were to see a tech lab on the barracks, or Jesus, on the starport, and then he makes the Liberator, I would then have like alarms kind of sounding here, going, "Oh shit, he might be going Liberator range to like do things like sit way over here and liberate my mineral line, and over here and liberate the mineral line." So, scouting a little further will give you again a lot of information as to what could happen. And there's the tech lab. You just barely saw it. So the barracks built a tech lab here and then floated away. So if he starts upgrading right away, it's most likely going to be a Banshee with Cloak. But you're not sticking around to see it. It's nothing so far. And it's going to be a Viking. This is also an option for Terran. The Viking, all this Viking is going to do is just kill Overlords. And if the Terran opens up a tech lab, I guess there was really 4 options. There's more than I said. The 4th option is a tech lab on a starport into a Viking. This Viking, seeing that there is still a factory on a reactor, if I saw a Viking come out of this fucking starport, it doesn't matter if he is or is not upgrading this building here. I would, if he is upgrading it, you have to respect it, and you have to build spores. At least 1 per base, because if you don't build spores and he does actually commit to like Cloak Banshees, you're gonna have some serious problems. But if I saw this Terran make a Viking and he still had a factory and a reactor, I would probably be thinking this guy is most likely gonna go for some type of a weird drop type push. And if he still has a factory going on this reactor, I feel like this drop push might be then medevac with Hellions, or it might be Thor drop or some shit like that. That would be my next. That would be something I would be looking out for, because this Viking, its whole job is to remove your detection across the map, like your map awareness, to kill Overlords. It's not going to attack your base at all. It's just going to kill your Overlords, to, you know, open up paths for him to go through where he's like unseen. Now, you've just got... I love that you scouted further in. I fucking hate when players are so afraid to lose the Overlord, but then they lose it anyways. It feels like such a wasted opportunity to scout. It'd be like if you're playing poker, and your opponent... And you're playing for like a big like money. It's, you know, playing in a tournament for a cash prize, and it's really important if you win right now. And your opponent just fucking turns his cards around and shows you, and you can just go like this. You're like, no, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see. Like, it's important to scout and have, you know, knowledge of what's happening in the game. So I love that you're not afraid to lose the Overlord, and you just saw a second starport, and now this starport tells you a lot more information. It tells you he's going to mass something out of a starport. And the most likely thing that he's going to mass out of a starport while also getting a tech lab upgrade is going to be Banshees. You're not going to see someone go mass Liberators on Tech Labs. You're not going to see someone go mass Ravens on Tech Labs. Because, for one, you can't afford Tech Lab to Ravens. Like, you can't afford to make Ravens nonstop. It's really expensive on the gas this early in the game. So it's not going to happen. And also, even if he did go mass Ravens, how the hell does that guy ever expect to not die into a lot of different types of timings? So, it's not going to be Ravens. And it's not going to be Vikings, Medivacs, or Liberators, because if he was going to go multiple starport and mass these units, for one, it's not going to be Viking or Medivac, because those units, again, wouldn't ever be able to keep him alive. It would be more like a troll game at that point. But Liberator would be the other option, and if this guy were to go mass Liberator, if he has 2 Tech Labs, it already rules out that he's going mass Liberator, because why make Liberators in sets of 2 when you can make them in sets of 3 or 4? With either 2 reactors or 1 reactor and 1 Tech Lab. And I could only understand 1 Tech Lab if he also had a fusion core and was getting like the Liberator range upgrade. It's definitely not Battle Cruiser either, because you know, it's too early in the game. So there you go. You just saw 2 starport Tech Lab starports. This is 100% a Banshee build, and the best way to react to a build like this would be to do this right here. Okay, I'll just let it play. It would be to drone a lot. Make like, you also know he's making Hellions. I would make like 8 roaches, okay? I hope you have a roach warren somewhere. It's really important to have a roach warren against this. You do not have a roach warren. If you ever have if you're using the build that I like to do, like this one here, this opener I did, where it's like 17, 18, 17, you get speed, you stop mining gas, you take a third. You have to fucking make a roach warren if your opponent commits to Hellions. The only way you can skip a roach warren is if they go 2-1-1 bio, just a bio drop. Okay? But if they commit to Hellions, and they also commit to more than, like, especially if they commit to more and more Hellions, if you don't make a roach warren, you are so fucking vulnerable to Hellions killing your entire mineral line. Or multiple mineral lines. It's really bad. Because Hellions can easily roast a bunch of Lings, even if they have speed. If he's got 12 Hellions and you have 30 Lings, with decent micro, like if he just doesn't walk them into a full surround and then die, with decent micro, he will fucking roast your Lings. Easy peasy. Especially if you allow him to do something like get in the mineral line, and then your Lings all funnel into a point and they all get roasted. Like one volley of the Hellions kills like 20 Lings in a little choke point. You don't want that shit to happen to you. So it is mandatory to make a roach warren if your opponent... You saw it earlier too. You saw a fast factory with a reactor barracks. When there was like a marine here killing... It was like shooting away your first overlord. You should have been like, okay, I should make a roach warren to deal with that. It's important. It's required. Because even if your opponent does not commit to mass Hellions, or let's say he makes like just 4 Hellions and he suicides them in your base, and then let's say you would have scouted with a Overlord, and instead of seeing double Tech Lab starports, you would have saw 1 starport with a reactor and like 3 barracks, and the factory had no add-on, and he was going for this more like bio transition. Even though you made the roach warren, you wouldn't necessarily need roaches if, let's say, again, I didn't really finish my sentence earlier. If this guy were to have made like 4 Hellions and run them into your base, but your Lings caught them and killed them, because it was only like 4 Hellions, and your Queens and Lings killed it, then yeah, sure, you could still have a roach warren, but you don't need to make roaches, because you're fine now. But if your opponent makes a factory and either nothing has happened yet, like no one's died yet, and he's making Hellions, or if a time has come where... Basically, that's just it. If a time has come where you need Hellions because he hasn't attacked yet, you fucking need... You need to make a fucking roach warren, alright? I don't have to explain everything. Make a roach warren. Just make it. It's fucking important. It's like having... what's it like having? I'm going to give you a sweet analogy. Making a roach warren, if your opponent makes factory, is like having... I don't know, man. It'd be like having hot sex. Yeah, there you go. It's important. It'd be like, what's something bad that can happen to you, but you have something to prevent it? It'd be like having a fire extinguisher in a building where your whole operation is to, you're testing candles, and people are testing candles in every single room, and the for some reason the owner of the building wanted every room to have flammable wallpaper. Really, really flammable wallpaper. Okay? That's just what it's like. Because Hellions do fire damage, okay? So, they're all about fire anyways. Make a roach one. It's required. Now, going back to Banshees. Okay, so if your opponent goes double starport Banshee, that's one out of two aspects of the fight. We just talked about the Hellions, which is the second aspect. But the Banshees can easily be zoned out if you do this. This is how my reaction would be to what you just saw. Have 8 roaches. I don't need to go mass roaches. I don't need to have like 20. I would make 8. And I would give myself a thumbs up. Just make 8! Fucking 8 roaches! And you can split them 4 and 4. And behind these 8 roaches, I would go mass drones and queens non-stop out of my hatcheries. I would make up to like probably 10 queens. Now, with these drones, I would not just make 1 spore per base. Because if this guy goes double Banshee, and there's like fucking 8 Banshees right here, outside of detection range, my main will die. Or any other base. 1 spore per base is like trying to fight a tarantula with a fucking toothpick. Okay? It's not going to be fun for you. So, make more fucking spores as well. If you were to have, let's say, 3 spores per base, and then you were to have 1 spore per between bases. So here would be like spore, 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 and now between bases, you'd have like 1 spore here, or like 1 spore here, or something. You would just have 1 spore between your bases. It covers the rally point. Now in this base, you'd have spore, 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 and then you'd have like a spore here to cover the rally point. And now in this base, spore, spore, spore. Again, you just make like 3 spores per base, and you make it in a triangle around your hatchery for 2 reasons. One reason is because the spore will help shoot Banshees whenever they try to attack anywhere in your base. But the second reason is, if you guys didn't know this, a spore's detection range is bigger than its attack range. A spore only has 7 attack range, and it has like 10 detection range. So if you have 3-prong, like triangle formation spores, the Banshee cloak of vision radius will be like, you'll be able to detect like your whole fucking base basically. Everywhere will be lit up if a Banshee approaches. And because you made extra queens, if he has like 6 Banshees over here, and let's say he's outside of range of your spores, he went in the little like dead space between your triangle, you can have fucking 8 queens just pounding the Banshees because you can still see them. Because for him to be within any range of your buildings, he will be spotted by a spore crawler. And this is only assuming as well that you don't even have a layer yet. Once you have a layer, you make a fucking overseer and just add it to your queen group, and then it becomes an overseer roaming queen group that can also eliminate Banshees. And you stay on this mentality here. Go up to like 10 queens and full saturation on 3 bases off the back of like 8 roaches. And once you have 3 base saturation, you then can be like, I'm going to make a shitload of whatever I want. Hydras, fucking mutas, more roaches, whatever. The world is your oyster at that point. You can make a lot of units. And then also that would be the time when I would say, once you've secured your 3 base and you're starting to power, you're going power mode where you're making only units, then you would also take a 4th base. And this 4th base would be designed to not only relocate drones out of your main and your natural, whatever starts mining out, like 2 drones, 4 drones starting to overmine the bases, they just fucking go to the new base. You resume good saturation, plus you could, if you know you have map control and you're not like about to die, you can even slam in like 10 more drones for your 4th base. Add some more to it to fill up the gases and maybe saturate the mineral line a bit. To do whatever you want to do, you know? So that's how I would react to this if I was playing. Alright, let's see what happens.
Your
We'll
forces are
we'll talk about it
taking
as we go. But what I just said is, I feel like it would be a very good reaction. So we have Hellions roaming your base. So if remember how I said I would make 8 roaches? A really important thing here to remember is I also did say I would split them up. I would split them up to be like 4 here and 4 there. And the reason why is because of what just happened to you. He just tried to approach your third, and then he drove down because you were there. And then he tried to approach your natural, and then you had a little bit more lings there, and he drove down because you were there. But in doing that, he lured everything from your third to like here. And the Hellions are fast units, so they just drove right back to your now undefended third, and now this is happening. And you're starting to lose drones. You just lost 6 drones for the price of 3 Hellions. Which is, if I'm Terran, I actually like that trade. If we're both losing the exact same amount of money in terms of units that we just lost, but you're also losing mining time, because not only do you have to pull off the mineral line, but you also now have dead drones, I'm winning as Terran. Because I'm mining more than you, even though we're losing the same amount of money. So it's a bad trade for you to have for that to have just happened. That's not game ending at all yet, but that's still not good for you. Trades like that are bad.
A new queen has emerged.
Yeah, you're definitely not doing enough to react to the Banshees right now. You're going to allow Cloak Banshees to just run over your base. And the thing about Hydras, going really fast Hydras like this, is you're making a unit. It's like a rock, paper, scissors game. You're basically trying to beat... you're trying to beat a pair of scissors with a rock, which works. A bunch of Hydras will beat a bunch of Banshees. But you're also not respecting the fact that he also has a piece of paper just sitting there right behind you that's going to just wrap around your rock so that the scissors somehow actually cut the fucking rock up. You know what I'm saying? My point is let's say you have 15 Hydras and he has 8 Banshees. If he were to just take that fight, if he took that fight straight up, he would lose. But if he has 8 Banshees and 10 Hellions versus 15 Hydras, and the 10 Hellions come up and they just fucking roast your Hydras in a line, and now like immediately 5 Hydras just died, and only 1 Hellion has died so far because he just fucking AoE'd the shit out of you, and now his Banshees come in and the second volley happens from the Hellions, and you just lost another 3 Hydras. Boom, now you're down to 7. And at this point now, Banshees have killed like another 3 Hydras as well. You just lose all your DPS so fast because the Hellions just AoE the shit out of you while your Hydras are like fixated on 2 different unit types. It's not going to go well to just go mass Hydra like this really fast. Hellions will run this over. Especially if he has Blue Flame. And this is why, like I said, this is 100% why you put Spores in the rally line. So this shit doesn't happen. You just lost... Because you didn't have Spore coverage in your main, you just lost the Queen. And because you don't have Spore coverage in a rally point, you've so far lost 1 Hydra. 2 Hydras. 3 Hydras.
Your forces are taking
Drones. I'm going to just say this right now really quick, because this is really important. Off these 2 Banshees alone, they've already killed 10 units. And these are not fucking like Zerglings that they've been killing. They've been killing drones, Hydras, and Queens. You've already lost more money than it would have cost you to just make the Spores like I was talking about. So now, every little bit of damage you take from here on out is going to be just excess damage you should not have been taking in the first place. Oh, the Banshees didn't even die. They're still going. They just killed another drone and another Ling. 1 Banshee finally died. And it's coming again.
Evolution complete. A new queen has emerged.
See, like right now, I feel like if you look at the units tab, we've got for you we have 6 Hydras and 8 Hellions, or 8 Zerglings. Sorry, 8 Zerglings and 6 Hydras. This army right now is not big, and if this guy were to drive up into your base right now with like 15 Hellions, like some big number of Hellions, he doesn't even necessarily have to fight. He doesn't have to fight your army, but if he did, he would probably win. But this army is never going to stop your drones from dying.
Mutation complete.
To a bunch of Hellions.
They're attacking your base, you know.
So basically what I would do if I were you again is make like 8 roaches, saturate 3 bases, make a lot of extra queens, go up to like 10 queens. And then once you saturate 3 bases, you could then make Hydras. And you would have a much bigger supply than you do right now, guaranteed. Because you would have taken like no damage. And if you look at resources lost right now, you've already lost 2,000 resources of units. And making 4 spores is only it's 500 minerals to make 4 spores. So if you made 4 spores, it would be actually 11 spores, it would be 11 spores because you would have 3, 6, 9, and then a 10th middle spore and an 11th middle spore. It would be 11 spores, and if 4 spores is 500, then that would mean 11 spores is it's 1500 minus 125, which is it's 1375. You would have only spent 1,375 minerals in total on making 11 spore crawlers, which would have 100% zoned out the banshees all day, and you've lost quite a bit more than that. We're approaching double of that.
That mineral field's gone.
It's very important. This kind of a timing is always risky because if your opponent has a really good spread of tank, this kind of an army will get demolished.
You're under attack. Siege up. We're running out of minerals back home. Our forces are under attack. Hey.
You got to keep this in mind too. This is really important. This is something I think a lot of people get confused about, which is some games are like, sometimes I just win with Ravager, and I want to do it every game. But then some games like a Ravager, and I just get completely shut down. I don't understand. This is why it does and doesn't work. If you play against a Terran, and you, in some way, shape, or form, get a lead early on in the game, doing a follow-up Ravager push is going to be really hard for the Terran to hold. It's going to make your Ravagers feel stronger, because Ravagers are the kind of unit that can do an insane amount of damage really fast, but at the same time they have to sacrifice their own bodies to do it. They have to like get in and fucking do the damage, because there are very few units that a Ravager is going to outrange against a mech. Like it's like a siege tank is not just going to be like surprised by a Ravager shot. It's going unless you're somehow your Ravager's on a high ground and he's on the low ground and he just physically can't see the hill. You're always going to get shot every time you engage, but if you have a lead early on in the game and you just have enough units to just you're going to get hit while you engage, but it's not enough to stop you, and then you just roll over the Terran because you have too much that overpowers him. Then Ravagers are great. Then they're like super good units because you just had a good lead in the beginning of the game. But if you don't have a lead, and you go Ravagers anyways, and now your opponent is like ready for it, you're going to engage into something where your shit's just all going to die, and it's going to be a big blood puddle, a bloodbath of Zerg death, getting shot by artillery from siege tanks, and amongst other units. You have to have a lead to just launch a fucking Ravager attack, otherwise it's probably going to fail. It could still work if you're behind, but probably will fail. If you play the odds, it'll fail.
Your base is under attack, man.
Like, here's some numbers for you, okay? I would give you like an 80... You probably have like an 80% chance to win the game if you are running off of a lead early on in the game and you just say, fuck it, let's go Ravagers and do a timing. Probably have like a 75-80% chance to win the game. And if you are the complete opposite of that, if you're a deficit early on in the game, like your opponent did something to fuck you up in the beginning, and now you just say, let's go Ravagers, I'd give you like a 20 to 25% chance to win the game. Like, it could still work, but this is also very vague because we're assuming every game is the same. You either are ahead or you're behind. There's variations of that. You could be either really far ahead, a little bit ahead, you're even, you're a little bit behind, you're way far behind. There's always variations, which is why the game can be confusing. But just know, in general, if you have a lead, Ravagers can be good. If you're behind and you're gonna be aggressive, Ravagers are not that good. Because look what's happening to you. Every time you try to take a fight, you just get pounded by Siege Tank. And you're just losing more and more.
That mineral field's gone. Don't spend it all in one place. You're under attack. Siege base is under attack again.
This is nice. This is sloppy by the Terran, but this is nice. Doing a meta switch is what I would have recommended you do. So this is what I would want you to do. Or this is what I would do personally if I was in this situation. I would 100% switch to meta. So you've kind of like fooled this guy because he went like gung-ho on the tanks and he just decided to say, fuck it, let's attack. And now his tanks are committed outside of missile turrets. He doesn't have any turrets anyways. He fucking had a zero idea you were going metas. He's committed outside of, outside of his base. His army is exposed as fuck right now. And now you just show up with meta. What I would do, I like that you went meta. It's great. This guy made a huge mistake in terms of not adding at least like 2 Thors into his army when he totally could have done that. But here's what I would do if I were you right now. You take your whole army that is not Mutalisk and you just go down right now and you fucking hit his base. Because look what's defending his base. He's got actually 1 Thor coming up the map right now. He's got one tank. And he's got 1 Thor that just finished building. And he's got no units in production. He's got 0 production of units. He has a total, it's going to be a total of 1 Thor and 1 tank defending his entire base. And it's orbital, 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 and no, just a regular command center. He's got 1 PF on the far side of his base. If you were just to go down here and bust into his fucking natural and go for production, like bust in the natural, kill whatever's in your face, kill the natural itself, kill the main itself, gut everything in the main. You get his upgrades, you get all of his factories. What the fuck can he do? He can't do anything. Because if you decide, you know what, fuck it, let's attack these tanks with my Ravagers. I hope you don't do that. You already have an army that can kill his army without any losses. Like he's got 3 Vikings that are about to die. And you have 15 muta. And 15 muta is a lot. That's not like you're going to kill 1 unit every 30 seconds. You're going to be killing 1 unit every volley almost with 15 muta. That's a lot of DPS. And it also bounces attacks. So as you're killing his army, the rest of his army is going to slowly start to get weaker and weaker because the bounces are going to be softening everything up as you keep killing more shit. So these mutas will easily do the job. This army, yeah, I feel like it should be counterattacking. Worst case scenario, you could just rotate these drones to like this base and build a new hatchery. If it took you too long to kill the army. Like, if you push this hatchery, it guaranteed would die. But you don't have to lose the drones at it. You can totally run the drones away. And now he's just starting to produce more army because he's chilling. And this army, realistically, what did it do? You killed like 8. This army, your Lings did nothing. And your army up here, it killed a total of probably like 10 Hellions. Because let's actually look at it. This is how many Hellions. This is... Take the Banshee out. Okay, so he kind of committed... He is committing to... Your mutas are busy on the tanks. He committed... there was a Hellion right there. This is 20... Or 19. This is 19 Hellions. Okay? 19 Hellions is what your army decided to stand and kill for. It's not bad. You still had a great fight here because your army, you know, you didn't really lose much up till this point. You put him in a situation where he panicked because you had Muta, but now you didn't punish him enough for it. And stacking Mutas against the Thor is always, you know, I would say what you're doing right now is really greedy. As soon as you see a Thor, you either kill the fucking Thor right away with Magic Box and get rid of it, or you just leave. You don't try to skirt around the side of Thor's and stick around and shoot shit on the side of it, because if the Thor gets with like 1 step forward and shoots, you kill 1 tank but you lose like 8 mutas for it. It's not good. It's like playing with fire. It's really risky. This is a mistake. You're playing this like really all in. I don't know if you're just not confident in ZvT late game, but you're playing this with like really all in styles. Like you even have a Hive and a Spire, and you're playing this in ways that is not the best for Zerg. You're playing it in ways where you're gonna. I hope. What's your economy? You're actually down in economy. If you're gonna play like this would be my biggest recommendation to you. The way you're playing it is viable. You can do it. But don't stop droning at 68. Drone to like 90. Or like 85. And then play like this. Because what you're going to do is you're going to run yourself out of money. If your opponent has one time, just one time, he defends one attack with a good positioning, good engagement, you 100% lose the game if you play like this.
You're engaging the opponent. That mineral field's gone. Don't spend it all in one place. Mineral field depleted.
I like that you're going for a Greater Spire. I like the right here. This is really pretty. These upgrades are. I'll give you credit for the Zerg missile weapons for one reason. I'll tell you in a minute, because the reason why is if you put these two together, I don't mind your missile weapon upgrade. This is a completely irrelevant upgrade against what he's doing. You don't actually need Carapace against mech on the ground. You really don't. It's a waste. You would be better investing, like, and also you don't need Banelings either against mech, really. You'd be way better off investing your gas into something more efficient. Like, that's why I was saying, if you're gonna play inefficient like this, the only way it works is if you have a better economy than your opponent, and you are mining more than him right now, because he's starting to mine out. But if this guy had another base, I guess, you would be losing the game right now.
We're running out of minerals back home.
Let's back it up. Let's watch that fight. So, I feel like what just happened to you is you went for too much random shit and it slowed everything down for you. So you put yourself in a situation where you're fighting against a really powerful, higher tech mech army with really low tech hatchery units. And we're talking like legit, it's hatchery tech almost to the maximum extent of hatchery tech. The only difference of it not being hatchery tech is you have 2-2 instead of 1-1. But you were using Ravager, Zergling, Baneling. That was your army. I think you had like 3 Hydras, which is like fucking irrelevant. That's like not enough. It was legit Zergling, Baneling, Ravager, and your Baneling didn't even have movement speed yet. You were upgrading it, but you fought before it was done. It was actually like fighting a tier. It was like fighting a tier 3 army with tier 1, because he had Armory, Hellbat, Thor, Tank, and although he didn't use it, he had a Raven. It's like tier 2.5. Tier 3 would be like if he also had another support unit, like a Ghost or a fucking I guess a battle cruiser, a liberator. Terran's weird. Terran fights like tier 2 all game, basically. They don't really fight with tier 3. So at this point in the game, you have 3,000 minerals, you have 600 gas, and you just took a new base in top right. The best thing you could do right now, you actually haven't lost yet. You could still retake this game and somehow turn it into a win. But this is what you would have to do. Stop trying to defend this base and evacuate all your drones at it. And any drones you have that are overmining, which is actually none. Send as many drones as you can to the top right. Try to fully saturate another base, and maybe even take a different base that he's not currently attacking, like this one or something. And back the fuck up. Just back up. This guy is going for... he's not even going for mass anything. He's just going for a balanced comp between 4 units. It's balanced between tanks, Hellions, Vikings, and Thors. He doesn't have, like, if you were to have, like, a pie chart, he'd have, like, 20%-ish in each unit, and maybe the 10% excess is, like, in the Raven or some shit. It's a very well-balanced army. And against a very well-balanced army, simply just going Broodlord and Infestor is really good. Because you can fungal growth and control a lot of his different kinds of units, and as soon as you get rid of the front line, like the Hellion, and if he doesn't have a very heavy Hellion army, it'll be really fast getting rid of the frontline army, because he'll have 10 Hellions probably, maybe 15 max. They'll die pretty fast. Especially if he also has siege tanks that are shooting his own Hellions while they're killing the Broodlings. And then you can just like neural the Thor and you're good to go. Like, Broodlord Infestor would be amazing against this kind of a composition. Super amazing. And you even got the upgrades for it. You had you got Pathogen Gland. So if I were you, I would seriously just back up, make Infestors, and make Zerglings. Zerglings would be designed to 100% run around the map and try to catch anything I can, like a new base, like here, or whatever. Kill some depots outside the range of a PF. Just fucking be annoying with the links and buy yourself some time to switch into Broodlord Infestor. Broodlord Infestor is so good. I think Viper is not the right call here, because he's going for a balanced army, and against a balanced army, you're going to get very little. Let me just say this too: a lot of people, I swear to God, a lot of people make the same mistake, and they don't understand. Like, oh my God, mech is so good. Don't think that Viper is a better counter to Thors or tanks or anything on the ground for that matter than an Infestor is. An Infestor does everything better than a Viper does against ground units. There is only one thing a Viper does better than an Infestor. And that's killing clumps of air that are not really durable. Like killing Vikings and Ravens. A Viper will excel at that very well. That is the one thing a Viper is good at. But if you're prioritizing and you think that Blinding Cloud is better than Neural Parasite, you're fucking crazy. And if you think that Abduct is better than Fungal on the ground, you're fucking crazy. Because a Fungal and Neural are both better spells at dealing with ground units than Abduct and Blinding Cloud are. Because what happens if you abduct a unit? The Viper goes forward, you pull a unit back, you pick off the unit, and that's that. You killed one unit. But a Viper also has to kind of fly into harm's way to do it. A Viper can't just abduct a unit for free and be like, fuck it, I'm okay. Yo, Top, thank you very much for the host, man. Thank you, man. I'm currently in the middle of doing like a mini coaching lesson. But thank you, I appreciate it, man. Much love. What's up, guys? But a Viper, okay? A Viper will fly in, it'll abduct the unit, and in the process of doing it, it'll get shot. And here's why. A Viking has 9 range against air units. And a Thor has 10 range against air units. So a Viper will legit fucking fly in and die if it's trying to just go in when the army is already there and it's just trying to pull units out of it. Your Vipers will die as you do these things. Against the ground unit, there's only one unit that can outrange a Neural Parasite and a Fungal, and that's a Siege Tank. But guess what Siege Tanks get fucking owned by? Broodlords. Like, and Broodlords also have 10 fucking range. So, if you use your Broodlords to set his ground army up, to bait it, you bait his army forward to come chase the Broodlords, and then you back up, and then you use the Infestors. That's one way to do it. Really well, without anything of yours even dying. It's really cost efficient. Your Infestors are not really in harm's way because you pulled his army forward. Because if he doesn't go forward, he's just going to lose his tanks and anything else in the front. So he will get pulled forward, and if there's one other choice the Terran really has, it's to unsiege and get the fuck out of there, to run away. An Infestor can actually run faster than a Thor and a tank, not a Hellion. But a Thor and a tank both run slower than an Infestor. And you know what happens if you fungal growth? The units that are running away, they become really slow, and they become so slow that a Broodlord can actually catch up to them and kill them. So you can force more fights by chasing and fungling an army. Like, it's just better. It's just so much better. A Viper has like right, look at it. Look, what's he doing? He's like, I'm not talking about you, Plasmid, I'm talking about the Viper. He has no fucking choice. He's like, ah, shit. I threw mist on the ground and now I'm out of energy. I'll just fucking suck life out of the hatchery to maybe bomb this army and then die while doing it. That's what a Viper's life is. It's a suicide bomber. You know, it's like a fucking glorified Baneling. It's expensive as fuck too. It's a good unit when the time is right. It's a bad unit when the time is wrong. And against a Terran who doesn't have a lot of Vikings, the time is not right. It's not the right time. Anyways, Plasmid. Ask me more questions if you have any. But I hope that helped. I hope that helped you. And Top, thank you very much, man.